message. Give me a couple minutes of your time. This one may hit some of you harder than others. I have the wonderful opportunity to travel the country, travel this great state of ours, hopefully travel the world someday with my good friend, my brother, Michael Karen, owner, founder, CEO of Get Burly. We travel the country doing large group mental and physical conditioning camps for high school teams, middle school teams, adults, corporate groups, teams, groups, units, organizations, anybody that's a family working together trying to get something accomplished. We take them on a 12-hour journey, and it is an absolute game changer. It's been a game changer for me personally. We have listened to and served thousands, I'm not exaggerating, thousands and thousands from many different teams and organizations. I'm going to kind of walk you on a journey. And, I wasn't planning on shooting this video today, but I was drawn to this camera because I said, I might be able to serve some people with some of the content that we see and we provide and the messages that come to us, the feedback that we get from student athletes and groups and adults, and say, you know what, we might be able to serve some people with this, people that might never make it to our camps. We'd love to serve every one of you, but we know that's not going to happen. If you ever want, shoot me a message. If you ever want to give us a shot, we'll come to you. But so imagine group, 50 to 100 people, let's say, in and out of the classroom, mental, physical conditioning for about 10 and a half hours. And then I want you to imagine at the end of this amazing day, we have broken it down and rebuilt it over and over. And at the end of this day, I want you to imagine this small fire and people circled around this fire. And every one of them's got a stick of wood. And every one of them, Coach Karen and I have coached them up on sharing things that are heavy on their heart, commitments that they want to make to their team, non-negotiable things for themselves and their team. And they've got this log, and when they're drawn to the fire, they get up and they share. And they share, and they crack the rib cage open, and they let us inside that beautiful brain of theirs and that beautiful heart of theirs, and they share. And then when they're done, they say, that's my commitment to myself and to you, and that's what I wanted to share. And they place the log in the fire, and we go around, and I want you to imagine 50 to 100 plus people. Obviously, that feeds the fire, and the fire gets a little bigger, and people open up, and people come back and want to share a second or third or a fourth time. I'll tell you right out of the gate, though, what is said at the fire stays at the fire. That is our number one rule. So I would never share anything with you that was shared at the fire, but I can share some things with you that might help you serve people, even though you might never be standing or sitting around one of our fire pits and sharing, but we might be able to share some of the things that have been shared to us and have served Coach Karen and I and all those teams. I'm going to share something with you that might help you. You hear things that hits your heart and just it hits it hard. And you're like, gosh, dang. You could feel that was so freaking heavy on their heart, but they wanted to share for their team. And it's a beautiful thing. And you hear and see about stories about bullying and abuse and so many other things. And you hear things like, from this beautiful mind and soul in this person, like, I can't even understand why somebody would want to bully somebody or be abusive towards somebody. I can't even comprehend. And it touches your heart. And the power of the collective, the power of the share. We are social beings. We were meant to be around others. We're imperfect people who in many cases decide to be on an imperfect team led by an imperfect person that usually knows the sport or the business a little better than the team, all imperfect, trying to fail forward. And seeing these groups that early in the day probably would not have shared much of what they're sharing late that night. In many cases, you can tell they've never shared it before in their life. And you see when you see the team get, and it's always the tears. I've cried at every single one of them. It's a cry fest. and you see people get up and they walk over and they hug that person and like, I got your back. I have your back. It is so uplifting. And, you know, teams and being on a team is arguably, as a young man or woman, but even as we get older, it's a phenomenal internship. Team sports, I consider it arguably the greatest internship of a young man or woman's life. And when you allow yourself to be broken down and commit to that team, and the power of those hugs and the high fives and the fist bumps and the tears, it creates unbreakable bonds. So maybe you'll never find yourself at one of our fire pits or Get Burly clinics, camps, but let this serve you. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're about to do something where you're kind of outside of your own guardrails, maybe you're about to treat somebody very poorly, in a hateful way. Maybe you can do what we coach our athletes to do and our corporate teams to do, and this any team unit, is hit the pause button and flush to green. Hit the pause button and say a 5-second prayer. Is what I'm about to do, does it fit inside healthy guardrails? If not, flush those thoughts away and either back away from that situation or change the way you were about to say or do something. And these little techniques could help change your life and help you become a better steward to your home, your cul-de-sac, your community, your state, your country, and your beautiful planet. This beautiful planet of ours we call planet Earth. Might help you be more selfless instead of selfish, more loving instead of more hateful. And anyway, that's just our message to you. We'd love to serve you, but that's not what the reason for this message is. This is not a hard sell for Get Burly. This is a hard sell for you to develop a pause button, and maybe we can all become better people. So I love you. Thank you so much for listening here. I love what I do, man. I really do. I'm a blessed human. Live, love, laugh, and serve big with big focus on the serve, and do everything you can do to light up the planet today, my friend. Much love.